What's up, folks? Casual Dad here, and I'm doing my first phone recording, so bear with me here. And I wanted to go ahead and break down Marvel Snap from a kind of game design perspective and just talk about it real quick. So I'm going to do a really quick breakdown of the game, and then I'm going to play a game or two just to talk through it and kind of talk about some of the things it does really, really well, and then maybe some of the things it does that either are a bit of an issue or maybe an issue down the road. So first, super crash course. The way it works is you have a collection of cards. These cards are, of course, going to be your familiar Marvel characters from anyone in the Marvel universe outside of the cinematic universe, so you get a lot of comic book characters as well. But most of them are recognizable from their Marvel cinematic universe kind of lifetime now, for the most part, but some of them kind of cross over back and forth. And in terms of progression, you can easily play the game completely without spending any money. As you can see here, most of the progression is cosmetic. So I get Agent 13. This is a card I just got, but you see the border changes colors, and then also, as you play games, you collect a certain currency that can be used to actually level up this card. And as you level up the border color, eventually you'll then get an option to split, where you'll get different versions of the card. And so you see I have two copies of the same version up top here. And you can see there's a little icon in the very top middle that tells me that I have a special kind of foil cover on this one. And I'll move the phone a little bit so you can see exactly how that reflects in terms of the card. Then also in the store, you have the option to pick up or earn alt arts. So just alternative artworks that are the exact same card with the same function that also level up the same way, but just have a different base look, like this one here. And when I'm talking about leveling up your card, each level, let me see if I've got one. Yeah, let's do this one. So Wasp up here is marked with the glowing green arrows telling me I have a ready upgrade, and that means that you see in the top right I have enough boosters, is what they're called, and on the top left I have enough credits to go ahead and level this. So there's a red dot in the bottom right, it's flashing, so I click that, and this tells me the cost in currency and then the amount of boosters I needed to get here, so I click to level up. And then you're going to see that it adds some features, so now she's animated, so she'll move a little bit in the artwork, and it tells you the quality of the card is increased. And then you click nice to continue. This is the progression tree. And so every 4 ranks you get, and each level up you do for the different rarities does give you more of these, costs more resources, gives you more of a progression. And then you just kind of get these free upgrades as you go through. And now early on in this, we're going to have to scroll quite a bit here. So your level is your collection level, and that's the combined total level of all of your cards, as shown by this tree here. And if you go back far enough to when you're just starting out, early on, let's see if I go far enough down here. Sorry about this. Just to talk through it, though, early on when you first start leveling under 1,000 in the kind of early hundreds, at first you're winning guaranteed cards. Let's see if this is one. At first, you're winning guaranteed cards, so you know exactly what you're going to get when you get it. And then, as you can see later on, you start getting what are called caches, which is kind of random chests that can be a card, but aren't always. Let's see. Okay, so, and then there's mystery cards before then. So the difference there is early on, you'll get a mystery card. So hang on, let me go back a bit further. So to start, as you're leveling up, at first you get guaranteed cards. To certain times of the level. Man, okay. It's going back quite a bit. Sorry about the delay. Okay. Yeah, so this should be pretty good. Oh, man, really? Okay. Yeah, so when you first start out, some of the rewards are known. You know you're going to get a specific card. It'll show in the tree what you're going to get when you get there. And then after that, you're going to get mystery cards. This one, yeah. So you know it's a card, but you don't know what it's going to be. And then later on, you get into the caches. And the caches, the early on ones, you get more common results, but they're more likely to be cards. But then later, they're higher rarity results, but they're less likely to be cards. But the ones you get are going to be very rare. But I just wanted to show this because, again, this is only for leveling up your cards cosmetically. So as you're leveling up your cards here, you do the cosmetic upgrade, and that is how you progress in the game. And now I haven't spent a dime in this game, so I'm level 1,900 and change, and I've done that without spending $1. So it's very easy to progress without spending money in this, but you can. And I can't talk about any of these mobile free-to-play games without talking about monetization a little bit. So bottom left button here is your store. Couple things here in your store. They do have real money bundles that give you gold. There are multiple in-game currencies, of course, which is kind of typical at this point. You've got gold, which we haven't looked at. We've got credits, which we did look at for leveling your cards. We've got boosters that we talked about for leveling your cards. And then there's also going to be collector's caches we'll talk about in a minute. But so they do sale options where you can get a portrait, you can get a variant of a card, you can get gold, and then you can get alt arts. Mostly these are purchased with in-game currency, which of course you spend money to get in-game currency, so blah. But you can get all of this in-game currency just by playing, so you don't have to spend money if you don't want to. But of course they try to get you to be like, ooh, it's a bundle that's going to expire, you must get it now. So there's that. One of the cooler stores is going to be your variant store here. This is one of the big sinks for your gold, but it's cool. My understanding is you're only going to be offered variant art or alt arts for cards you already have in your collection. So this isn't going to be a place where you can get new cards, but you can, if you see like a really cool version of a card that you want instead, this is a great place to look. And it's fun too. One of the things I talked about is that progression is purely cosmetic. And I don't think I mentioned, but should, that you get boosters either as random drops, but most of the time when you play a game is when you get your boosters. Because when you play a game with your deck, after you win or lose the game, afterwards you're going to get a random, semi-random number of boosters for a card that was in your deck. So if there are cards you play a lot, you're getting a lot of boosters for those cards. They will level up more quickly. And so an alt art is actually a way where you can level up more quickly with that card if it's one you use a lot. Or if you just think it's cool. I am slowly but surely collecting Venomized variants, so cards that have bonded with the Venom symbiote, just for fun. Just to one day down the road, at some point maybe make a deck that's purely Venoms. Which is funny because I don't actually have Venom yet. Anyway, next up is going to be your token shop, and this is where you get the third kind, or the fourth kind of in-game currency, that is collector's tokens. And these are actual cards you get you may not have in your collection, and they have a set cost of collector's tokens. And collector's tokens are fairly rare. One thing I learned recently, if you have something in this shop that you can't afford, you can see how that 3,000 is grayed out, and I have 1,600 in my quote-unquote bank, I can pin this. And that way, I won't see new cards here, but I will guarantee that I can get that card if I want to save up the collector's tokens for it. So you can do that. That's a cool thing. Next, they have the fast upgrade. Now, normally you can only upgrade a card when you get enough boosters and get enough credits. This is a place where you can pay a small premium in credits to level up a card without having to collect all of the boosters. Now, I will do this somewhat if I have a card that's medium to high level that I don't personally play very much, so I'm not going to automatically or organically collect boosters for it. This is a way where you can just upgrade them without having to grind through games with them. So it's cool. And it does cost a little bit more than just upgrading with the boosters, but it saves time. And so there's kind of a back and forth on that. Multiple times a day, you get a free 50 free credits that you can just claim here, so don't forget to check those. And then most of your in-game currency is going to be and then of course there's the real money bit that I just kind of ignore. But if you want to thank the developers, there are sales that pop up, so it's kind of a nice way where you can spend money, probably not that one, if you want to just kind of support the game, because they did a really, really good job with this game. But as I was saying, so most of your credits are going to be earned through play, most of your progression is going to be earned through play, and you do that with your missions tab here in the top right. These will refresh pretty regularly. You can pay a small amount of gold to fill up to get your max. If you're going to sit down and play a bunch, chances are you're going to build up gold faster than you'll spend it, unless you really, really like variants and alt arts. So it's not a bad idea if you're going to sit down and play for a while to just crank that out and fill to your full 6. And then there's also a progression for each ladder season that has separate secondary objectives, and then also an actual battle pass. And now, as we're kind of used to seeing, battle passes have both a free track and then a paid track. And the paid track includes some extra goodies, including you just get access to the whole thing right away. You get the new card of the season, and you get some extra kind of cosmetic stuff. But again, a couple things I want to highlight there. It is monetized, but the monetization is almost exclusively cosmetic, which is very cool, because people enjoy that. It's a nice way for the company to actually get money, which of course they're trying to do. But at the same time, it's not over the top. It's not really going to kind of get in the way of enjoying the game. So I like that. They did a good job. And there's also there's kind of a lot here. There's also an actual ladder progression as well on top of the battle pass too, which also should be expected. You can completely ignore the battle pass and just do this. and then this goes up to the point where you get portraits and you get card backs. So again, more cosmetic rewards, but they're pretty cool. They add a lot to the game. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about game design, and one of the key things here is you have your decks. And I already looked at my card collection, but on the top here you also have a pool of all of your decks. And you can name them, you can choose your card back for them. This is kind of my standard go-to deck, and I wanted to highlight this because most of these cards are cards you either get very early or start with. They're starting collection cards. And you can see you get a deck of up to 12 cards. So you've got a deck of 12 cards. In most games, you're going to actually see in play usually around 8 to 10 of those, depending on the length of the game and what happens. So you can pretty consistently get a reliable deck where you can count on the cards that you want showing up most of the time. Now you can see that all of these cards have both a energy cost on the top left and then a power on the top right. And kind of the way play goes is there are 3 lanes, and I'm going to play a game in just a second. There are 3 locations, and each one is a single lane. Each lane has 4 slots for players of either side to put their cards. So you can have up to 4 cards at any one lane. And then the winner of the match is decided by who has the most power, that top right number, combined in all of the lanes. And it's 2 out of 3. And then ties are decided by the kind of balanced excess of power. So we can go ahead and just play a game. And the way you get energy to actually spend on these cards is each turn you get 1 more. So turn 1 you get 1 energy, turn 2 you get 2 energy, and so on and so on. So they did a really cool job making a very elegant, very fast game. So I'm going to go ahead and play a game here. I'm going to show my kind of standard mainstay deck. One reason I want to show this is because it's one that's made almost entirely of starting cards. So it's what a lot of players would call kind of a low-level deck, but it's still very stable and very consistent and still my go-to to complete quests and actually kind of ladder and win games. So I've got my 3 locations, my 3 lanes. Each location has its own unique rules. And this is where it gets kind of weird. So I had to tap that bottom button in the bottom right to make sure that I was marking that I was done. It's turn 2, so I now have 2 energy, so I can play my 2-cost card, and I can play them on any lane. And as you can see, also the lanes reveal over time. So I still don't know what this is going to be. That location is going to surprise me a little bit. So I've spent my 2 energy. I'll go here. And my opponent retreated. Okay, that was easy. So that was a game. Just to talk about this a little bit more while we're still looking at this screen. So you got your 3 locations. Turn 1, you know your left location. Turn 2, you know your middle location. Turn 3, you know your right location. There are a lot of mechanics that can kind of change the game, but you can look at this screen right here and see the basic mechanics of the game. You do turns, you get your energy, you play your cards, and there's a light halo around the player name. So on the top right, you can see Jalupa has that highlight, so whatever cards they play will be revealed before mine. And that switches every turn, or can switch every turn. I believe it's randomly decided. You can also see that cube at the top middle. You can tap on that during the game, and then you can gamble rewards. So we looked at that ladder earlier. That's based on your victory cubes. And you'll win or lose a set amount just based on playing your game. But if you decide to snap, which is tap on that, you will commit to more cubes whether you win or lose. So you'll either lose more or win more. I usually do just because I don't want to play games without kind of the longer progression. So we'll try it. So I got 1 victory cube. I'm in the gold track. I got some boosters for Namor here. I need 7 more to level him up again. So we'll do next. I'll play another game real quick just because that one wasn't a real game. But yeah, and here's where I want to talk about the gameplay mechanics and some things they did really, really well. So for one, it's really simple. For another, it's very fast. So you saw that game was over in probably a minute, maybe less. Ooh, nice. And right there, you can see that the locations can have some pretty significant, I'm going to go ahead and snap too. Ooh, it can have some pretty significant impacts on the game right out of the gate. Now that is one of the game design perspectives that's both really good and kind of an issue. So it's really good because these locations being so powerful adds a really significant element of randomness to the game that makes it a lot more approachable for new players. It's a slightly faster learning curve, but the game itself is so basic that that's not really a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and play. Ooh, actually. Right, so it adds a randomness to this. So it is a competitive game. There's a competitive ladder, but there's quite a bit of randomness in terms of the I'll hold that. There's quite a bit of randomness in terms of what locations you're going to see, so that it's pretty hard to predict what's going to happen every single game. So that's one of the reasons I really like this Spectrum deck, is every single card is what we call ongoing. So it has an ability that lasts forever and the keyword ongoing. And there are other cards that apply specifically to the ongoing keyword, one of the big ones being Spectrum herself. She gives a flat power buff to every single ongoing card. So I fill my board with ongoing cards, and then I play her, and she just buffs the entire board all at once, which is really powerful. You can see some other cards across the board doing stuff, and so it's another kind of key game design thing to mention here is that every single card is unique, and almost every single card has some sort of ability, which really makes a difference in play. So we're going to do that, we're going to do that, we're going to do a blast. I think I've got him. He's got me in the middle, but he devoted so many points to that I should still got him. So again, games are really, really fast. All of your card progression is cosmetic, so if you get a card totally unleveled, it's just as powerful as someone who has 9 alt arts and max leveled, which is cool. Ooh, interesting play, but I think that just gave me all of the locations instead of winning any of them. We'll see. Nah, I think he still got the middle. I'm not doing the quick math here, so I think he may actually have gotten me there. He did not. Sweet, okay. But yeah, and there's that turn with Spectrum, and you can see I won that because I've got the most power at both the left and right locations, and then he's got me in the middle, but I've got 2 out of the 3 locations. If I had one more, say on the right here, he had one more, and it was 20-20, that would be a tie, and then I would have won because I have the biggest difference in power. I'm winning by the most on the left. So that would be your tiebreaker. That's how that would go. So that was a full game, so you see how that goes. So a couple things there. So good and bad. They've really done a terrific job making this game very approachable for new players because progression is so easy because you can progress by playing. Because the game itself is so straightforward, you can just play it without really struggling. You can jump right into it and really learn it quickly. And then deck building, you can build any cards in any combination. So let's look at that real quick. So it's really, really, really good for, what's going on with my card back here? New players, again. And that's something I really wanted to highlight. They did a terrific job with that, which is very cool. And then, so what I just did was playing against a person in a ladder game. They also just recently added the option where you can play against friends. So you can actually do a friendly battle against people. So that will open up the opportunity for actual, if they want to do tournaments of Marvel Snap, they could do that now that they have the controlled battles that aren't just randomly in the ladder. Talking about the cards, so those are the things they've done really well. Like, it's very cool. You can build your deck out of any combination of cards. And that's awesome. And so again, you've got a full deck of 12 cards. You can use any combination of your cards. Of course, you want kind of a nice mana curve where you start with your lower cost and then ramp up to your later ones. And you want some redundancy so that if you don't draw your one and only 1 cost card, you're not hosed on turn 1. And you don't want to fill your deck with 6 costs because they're just not going to make up the difference in the length of the game. So those are the things they've done really well. Some things that are a little bit less maybe good, and I don't want to say less good. Like, there's still great things about the game, but a couple of things that they've done that I have some issue with and think are going to be a challenge down the way is, number one, the locations are incredibly random, which does make it a little bit challenging to do those ladder games. There's a couple locations in this particular. One is every time you play a card there, it's bounced back to your hand. Another has each player draw 3 cards and then destroys both their decks. So they're playing only out of a larger hand. Another one still will end the game on turn 4. Like, these are what would be considered game-breaking mechanics in most other games, but in this they're kind of built in and it sort of makes sense. And those are some of the things that add to the randomness that make the game more forgiving, which I actually really enjoy, but I could see that also kind of adding some extra frustration if someone's laddering up and they get just completely hosed on locations a few turns in a row. That's a bummer. There are cards you can play that will change locations, but oftentimes that's after the location has already applied its effect. So, I mean, you can play around it, but that randomness definitely kind of throws a wrench in things. The other one is also a nice new player aspect, is that there is no limit to what cards can be with what. if you want to build a deck that's Captain America running around with Red Skull, you can do that. You can put them in any combination you want, however you want, which I appreciate that because it does make it easier to progress, easier to experiment and build things. But at the same time, that total lack of limitation, you end up kind of you'll start to see very familiar decks where most players have the exact same combination of the exact same cards. A lot of cards are played almost every time because they will slot into any deck. Like Yondu and Scorpion up there, you're going to see all the time. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but some limitation on, like, you have to play villains, you have to play blah-de-blah. Some kind of limitation on deck building, I think, might add some variety to the game, which I don't know. It's one of those things that could certainly change down the road. So those are kind of the two biggest things, is the randomness of locations, that you can build anything you want in any combination whatsoever. These are both cool and good things, but they're definitely geared towards newer players and can be, they get a little bit old as you play the game quite a bit. And I mean, I'm certainly not tired of the game, but it's still, these are things that I'm thinking about from kind of a game design perspective as things that are potential issues. If someone wanted to build a game like this, these are the two things I would look at first as maybe like, well, let's change that. And maybe they'll do other game modes or different limited events down the road. I fully expect that to be part of the game at some point because it's still very new. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight those things. I'm going to play one more game just with a weird deck I've been building. I'd say you can build decks in any combination you want, but this is one I've been trying to play. I had a friend right when this game came out who made a tier list, and I'm sure a lot of people did, but he made a tier list of kind of the best and worst cards. And, of course, being a little contrarian, he had, nice draw. He had some of my absolute favorite cards marked at the rock bottom of the tier list. One of them being Deadpool. And Deadpool's ability costs 1. When he's destroyed, return it to your hand with double the power. So, of course, that ramps. As you do return him to your hand more often, his power doubles, and each time it doubles, it ends up becoming higher. Of course, that's how it works, which is cool. But the downside to that is that it's slow because you only get 6 turns. And if you're going to go ahead and try to kill this guy over and over again and redeploy him, you're taking a hit in terms of your energy production. And then you are also, oh yeah, there he is. That's my venomized angel. That's my venom symbiote bonded angel. You're taking a hit in terms of your kind of energy cost, and then you're also taking a hit in terms of, and he snapped, we'll snap. And you've got, I should have hit enter, my bad, taking too long. So you're taking a hit in terms of energy cost, and then it just, if you kill him every single turn, he's coming back with power like 6. And a 1 cost with 6 power is good, but not necessarily good enough to justify the amount of time and energy you spend making it happen. So, and this is actually a really good draw for him because Nakia here, oh, perfect. Look at that. And I'm probably not going to be able to play him again, but he's already going to be at power 6 for 1 cost, so he's going to be a nice kind of pocket piece to play in the final turn. And here you can see he's going to be power 6 in the final turn. So the best I'm going to get out of him is that power 6. Oh, sweet, that worked in my favor, that they'll both get nailed with that. So you can see there's all kinds of cool stuff going on in this, and I'm not going to get too into that, but I'm going to put you here, and, ooh, I can't play him here, so we'll put you here and you here. There we go. Now I'm thinking because when Black Panther is played, his power doubles, so he'd go up to 10, and then I will go down to 9, he'll go down to 10, so I would still lose that middle location, although it is tempting. He's probably got me. I don't know what else he put in there. Ooh, Odin. Okay. This is going to do another tiger, so I think I got him pretty comfortably, actually. Yeah, I got him. That was unlucky. Okay, but he's got Wong and Odin, so he triggers twice. But I still think I got him with the difference on our... No, he's got me. Yeah, okay. And just to kind of restate that, we tied on the left. On the right, I'm winning. In the middle, he's winning by more, though. So he did end up winning that, which is pretty funny. Had I put Black Panther over there, he still would have gotten me because we would have been tied on the right as well. But anyway, there's a game. Yeah. So there we go. That's our last game. That's kind of my thoughts on this. Don't want this video to be too long, so I'll go ahead and call it there. Well, let's actually see if I have a card I can level up. And I will say the collection filtering is terrific. So over here in the filters option or the sort option, I can go upgradable cards to see all the cards that I have enough energy and currency to upgrade. And a quick note on this, I probably don't have enough. No, I don't have enough. All variants use the same boosters. So both of these Colossuses would use the same collection of boosters. So you kind of want to pick which variant you want to level up and level that up until you get it where you want, rather than doing a lot of these. So you can see I have quite a few kind of sitting here because they're not the variants I like the most. The Killmonger is amazing, so I had enough to level him up once, changes his border color. And that is one where he already has that kind of different background. So he's a new copy of an old existing card. So he's leveling up as if he started out at level 1. Or common, whatever they want to call it. So yeah, that is my thoughts on the game design of Marvel Snap. Hopefully that was a good, useful video. And yeah, until next time.